Good evening, welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, opening comments to Vice Chair.
Yes. I just want to remark that I am so impressed with our DPW superintendent's job in the compost area. I have never, in my 65 years on this earth, have seen it the way it is. It's unbelievable. He's doing a bang-up job. It's clean, organized. You can see through there now. He's gotten rid of all the stuff there. And I just want to say thank you, Zach, for doing such a wonderful job. And thank you for, the other thing I want to say is he'll answer an email. If you ask him to do something for a citizen, he'll see to it that it gets done, which is so important today. It's a small community and we need to get stuff done. And I also want to say, and I'll let Richie do this, I'll let you take that, Mike Karavich.
Yeah, I'll mention that, yeah.
That's it.
And Josh?
Yes, we had a couple ribbon cutting ceremonies a couple weeks ago for the new Fish and Lobster store and Jackie Early's hair salon, so we wish those businesses good luck going forward. Kristen Lamonda wasn't quite ready with her store yet, but hopefully we'll have another one coming up. Those were fun events. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
at the moment.
My opening comments, I just, we lost a veteran and also former police officer, Michael Karavich, this past week, and I asked the town administrator to have the flags at half-mast tomorrow, if possible, and I know the weather's gonna be tough, but he deserved it. He was a great guy, and not only was he a veteran, he was a former police officer, and he worked for the town in many different ways, and it was, they're gonna have her, something of in a month or so. They're gonna do it for him. He was a very good guy. Okay. Opening comment. Public health flu clinic will be held at the town hall Wednesday, October 23rd, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then Thursday, October 24th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. The town hall will be closed on Monday, October 14th, in observance of Columbus Day. Curbside leaf pickup will be offered on the following days. I was talking to the superintendent. He was doing a good job. I was down at the dump, and I have to commend Enzo for bringing that up, because I too, he's done a great job down there, cleaned that up. It's unbelievable how it looks. I have never seen it that, all my years on the board.
Yeah.
That area, I was down there, and he did a fantastic job. And he continues to do a fantastic job. The town's never looked so good. Anyone that come in. In fact, I would like to have the board move that we sent him a memo from the board, congratulating him on his performance with not only with the dump in other areas of the town that he's. You ask him to do something, and he's right on top of it. He's done an outstanding job.
If may I say a couple words? Mr.
Sure.
On the compost area, we were able to, the town voted at the last town meeting to appropriate about $50,000 to dedicate towards the cleaning of the compost site. Mm-hmm. With that $50,000, we were able to rent that machine, yeah. And probably got about a third of the material out of there. So we hope to do that again in the coming year with the effort to clean the entire area and then maybe consider new ways to handle the yard waste that we pick up from the residents in that area. Kind of manage it more effectively than just stockpiling it for so many years. So the DPW, you know, Mike and Tim and Chris and Bruce, I mean, they've all been working, you know, everyone down there, Keith, everybody has been working really, really hard, and they did an awesome job down there. They've put some improvements at the wharf most recently, rebuilding the stairs at the marginal park.
I saw that, it was a great job, looks very good. You're gonna put the railing down.
Yep.
Drill the railing, because, you know, that looks excellent. I was down there looking at that.
Yeah, so they're doing an awesome job.
No, he's very good. I was down the dump, I was talking to him down there, and he says, you know, I've got the dump to do, and we'll clean up that, and then we're gonna be moving to leaf pickup, you know, and then the snow plowing. He had his, you know, but the towns look very good. You know, he's got the street sweeper out and cleaning it around, and they're working, the public works, they're doing a great job.
So we ask, with leaf pickup, that residents please remember to put the leaves in biodegradable bags, not in any open barrels. Please don't put twigs, branches, or anything else within those bags. It's important that we keep leaves and grass in its own pile.
I see where he separated.
Yeah.
He's got it all set up for the leaves, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
And also, if you go in there on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
that, he's went through some of the material, and there's some pretty good loom there. I might
Yeah.
even grab some.
Yeah.
So, if people want it, they should get out and get it. It's not a mess anymore. It really looks good. I mean, I can't say it enough how good.
Yeah, it does.
There's some beautification plans or screening trees planted, coming.
Potentially, that we have about 8 to 10, I don't know how many years ago, the town planted a nursery behind the community garden. And
Right.
there's, I don't know, maybe 10 or so
Trees.
somewhat mature trees back there that we might be able to transplant down to the compost site to make it look a little bit nicer.
Right behind the fence, and, you know,
Yeah,
if you drive down the Cape, you'll see all the dumps, you know, behind the screen, you know, trees and everything else.
yeah,
And it just, it would, if we plant the trees along that fence, it will look just 100% better. You know, it's not something we want to, you know, the neighbors would, you know, it's like, it'll be, spruce up that whole area. And those trees are half-grown or full-grown, or they'll look nice.
yeah. So we haven't scheduled anything yet, but that's something that we're looking to
Oh, yeah,
get
that's
into.
good. Excellent. Okay, the curbside leaf pickup will be offered on the following days: Monday, October 7th, Tuesday, October 15th, Monday, October 21st, and Monday, October 28th. So you've got the whole month of October. Because I don't, the leaves are not coming down yet. There's still on the trees, but, anyway. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the June 28, 2019 meeting, as well as August 28, 2019. I entertain a motion.
Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the meeting minutes from June 28th, 2019, and August 28th, 2019.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been seconded. Discussion. Hearing no, oh,
I was just gonna say that, the meeting from August 28th was joint between Board of Selectmen and FinCom.
Yes.
It was an excellent meeting, covered a lot of ground, and there was a lot of actions that came out of that, so maybe in the next couple, not tonight, Tony, but maybe over the next couple meetings, you can report on some of that stuff.
Definitely. I can report tonight that we did sign a contract with the Collins Center. Again, at the last town meeting, the town appropriated $10,000 for an outside firm to come in and develop financial policies for the town. So we did sign that contract just this week, and hopefully they'll be coming out in the next week or two to get that process started, which we're really excited about.
how you making out with the, I know you're gonna hire a road
Traffic study?
traffic study done, especially in the Bass Point where there's no stop signs, and I was gonna add crossings. We should look at certain areas like, I just, you look at it, we've got sidewalks in front of the church, then you've got no sidewalk at Ocean, Winter. I think people come up, go to church up there, so we need those sidewalks would be good. I mean, if we, not sidewalks, the crossing, crosswalk.
Yeah, and then they need one in Little Nahant.
Yeah, Little Nahant, yeah.
So,
I don't know where they're gonna put that, but they need to put it way down,
right.
so that people coming over that hill, I mean, that you have a chance to stop. If they put it too close to the hill, we'll have more. We've had 2 dogs hit there already.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't
We
identified,
did the traffic study, done.
haven't identified money in the budget. We didn't plan for traffic studies at the last town meeting. But maybe we can find some money in the budget for at least 1 or 2, depending on how much they cost. On a side note, for Little Nahant, we did order a solar-powered, pole-mounted digital speed sign for that area. That'll hopefully be pointing towards inbound traffic, so people coming off of the causeway. Hopefully that'll encourage folks to slow down.
I was just thinking as I drive around town every day, the speed limit, the signs, I think you make them larger. I know the city of Beverly, Peabody, they have larger speed limit signs, larger than normal. The size we have now, it wouldn't take much just to, especially on the Hart Road. It's very difficult to go 25 miles an hour coming into town, but I mean, I think the chief said if we post 25, maybe they'll keep it under 30 and something, which is a good idea. Maybe it will work.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much obeying it. There's some people that don't.
Oh, I know. Okay,
So you have a seconded motion on the minutes right
motion's
now.
been seconded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my job.
I know.
I haven't forgotten. God almighty.
Practicing for 2 years.
You'll be chairman soon. Not tonight, but, all right, I'm not embarrassing you, am I? No, okay. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We've got Waste Management with us tonight, and I'm gonna invite Ed Paycheck, is that correct? Paycheck, close enough, huh? I think your performance to date has been very good. I think when they miss some trash, I think we call the police, and the sequence seems to work. They come back, and your drivers are very, very nice, very polite. And I notice a lot of times, if there's spillage in the road, they go back and they clean it all up, and they have a broom with them and shovel in case there's glass, and they sweep it up. And so I think your company, the waste management area, picking up everything is to be commendable. Thank you very much. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna invite you up. You've got a presentation for us on waste management?
Yeah, so we invited Ed to come to the Board of Selectmen meeting tonight to, a couple of things, to really start to educate the public about what's on the horizon.
Right.
Trash costs are going up across the nation. Our contract is up next summer.
Right.
And
Well, he's gonna get, since he's here and we invited him up, I know he's gonna give us a reduction.
a good deal.
It should go down.
I mean, maybe we, get him,
There are things that the town can do differently that'll help limit the impact of increased costs. So tonight's really step one of just kind of starting the conversation and talking about what's on the horizon. And you have a PowerPoint, you have
Yep.
printed ones in front of you.
right?
And we will get this up on the town website as well for residents.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Can you make some of these for handouts?
Yeah, I have, for those of you, if anybody in the audience wants to follow along, there's extras.
All right, Ed. Well, thank you very much for your kind words and acknowledgement of our hard work here. Happy to be here tonight, and thank you for your time. I'd like to give a little update as to the services that we offer, and then also, as Tony mentioned, some of the changes that are taking place in the waste and recycling industries. So currently, we offer comprehensive services to the town: solid waste collection, bulky item collection, single stream recycling, town dumpster services, solid waste disposal, and recycling processing. I just point that out because there's a lot of different components to the contract and the services that we offer, and sometimes people don't realize all the steps that are involved. One of the things that I'd like to also point out is that residents have enjoyed 99.93 rate of successful service. So I think that's pretty good. I think it kind of backs up some of the comments from the board. But you know that there are 91 reported misses for over the course of the year. We're not perfect, but when we do have a issue, we like to try to rectify that as quickly as possible. And we make an effort to do that the best we can. So, you know, as Tony mentioned, the contract will expire on June 30th of next year, and some of the changes that we've seen over the past 5 years are international recycling crisis, which many people may have heard about in the news, largely focused on China. So I'm going to have a few comments on that in the next slide. But some other issues that we're up against are the Commonwealth's over its solid waste capacity, largely due to landfill closures. Of course, the population continues to rise, so that only exacerbates things. And then in general, we're up against a labor shortage, not just here in the Commonwealth, but nationally. Truck drivers and diesel technicians are really hard to come by, so it creates some labor expense on our end. So that's...
Excuse me for not interrupting. Do you have openings and?
We're hiring.
You're hiring?
We're hiring.
Maybe you can put, we've got some people unemployed over here, so I mean, it should be a great idea if we can get a listing of what, each employment area, drivers, technicians, whatever you need, so we can post it and then hopefully have some of these townspeople apply for the positions. That would be very, very, very good.
Great idea, yeah. And just for the record, we do have all our postings online already on Waste Management's website, so any interested candidates could check us out. They'll see the any local positions, driving positions, and technician positions that are available.
Maybe you can transfer that to our,
I'll see what we can do about that.
Our TV, people see it,
Sure. Good idea. Thank you. So yeah, but those are some of the concerns and challenges that we face right now. So just I have some notes here if you want to read on your own to kind of update yourself, but just to keep it short, in 2018, China stopped importing recycling, which caused the commodity markets across the world to collapse. So that's really the crux of it right here. What does that mean for the folks in Nahant and across the whole area? Basically, it means that the recyclables that we have always collected, the value in those recyclables used to subsidize the cost of the program, at least in large part. And now the full costs, or close to the full costs, are there for everybody to kind of feel, unfortunately. So I'll use one example. Back in 2017, mixed paper was, we could sell mixed paper for about $100 a ton. Now it's worth $0. Mixed paper constitutes 41% of the recycling in Nahant, and that's the lion's share, that's the bulk of it. And, that's went from $100 a ton value to $0. And pretty much it's the same story for most of the other recyclable categories. Glass costs us money to get rid of. Cardboard values have almost evaporated, and even plastic values have declined. So that's really one of the biggest issues that we face industry-wide. If you've been paying attention to some of the national news, you may have seen some stories on this topic.
I mean, do you see that changing? Because I know that, I own a garage and I recycle I try to recycle everything. And the metal is what, that's a big thing. And they used to pay us to take some of the metal. Now they don't give us anything, the metal recyclers. I mean, do you foresee any, in the future, them start to pay again, for cardboard and paper and stuff?
So I think down the road we can expect to see some. We're hopeful, optimistic that maybe in a couple of years we might see some uptick in these markets. But I think the big thing right now is we need to see some more capacity amongst the buyers. So when China shut down, you had a lot of material that was chasing very few outlets. So what we're waiting for is on the domestic end here, more mills to open up. And if and when that happens, then we are hopeful that paper and cardboard will start to have some more value. So the other issue that we're up against with recycling is contamination. So that's kind of what has been in the media largely over the past couple of years, is the contamination aspect of it. And here in Nahant, we've done some audits, and we've found that the recycling contains about 14.5% contaminants. So some of the residents may have experienced a tag or sticker on their bin indicating that it either couldn't be collected or that there were some items in there that didn't belong. So that's something that I just wanted to address while we're here tonight, and mention that that is something that we're doing our best to try to improve upon. But it sort of takes a collaboration and a partnership with everybody in town. So a couple notes on that would just be to remind everybody to focus on kind of the quality of the recycling, and some of the major contaminants that we find are plastic bags. I don't know if people can see the graphic here. I chose that because you can see that's some of our sorting equipment, and you can see all the bags that get wrapped around the sorting equipment there. It causes our plants to shut down. Plant shuts down, you're still paying everybody, but there's no material that's being processed. So it's just, it's a real issue for us, and as you can see, our employees have to climb up on some of this stuff, and it's not always the safest thing to be doing.
Well, you have the floor. Can you explain exactly what you mean by contaminants? Because I know I've had some conversations with Tony, and I think a lot of this is well-meaning people, like me. I got this foam container that must be recyclable, so I put it in there, and I guess the problem with the contaminants is that in the end, these well-meaning intentions are going to cost us on our trash bill, right?
Absolutely. So, we're not, out to penalize anybody, or we certainly recognize that people, I think, generally want to do the right thing, and it just sometimes what we sometimes call wishful recycling. Yeah, I mean, some probably general tips and pointers that I could share this evening would be certainly no bags, which would include no bagged recycling. So if there are recyclable materials that are placed in a plastic bag and put into the recycling bin, that whole bag is considered to be a contaminant. So now, I mean, our drivers know to try to separate that out, or leave it behind and allow the resident to learn, and next time it won't be an issue. Other issues that we see that are very common would be food items or containers that aren't maybe fully cleaned out, or you might have a soda bottle with half the soda still in it. Other issues could be things like wires, ropes, hoses, those are, we call tanglers, they get tangled up in the equipment. So what we're trying to do is direct people to, I guess maybe think of it, maybe less is more here. So we're trying to, the message we want to get out is, rather than try to recycle as many different items as you can, what we're focused on is bottles, jugs, jars. That's what we really want to focus on. Cans, paper items, cardboard. That's even glass bottles. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we would ask people to recycle versus, trying to. I think sometimes people will see the little recycling symbol on a lot of different household items. We don't want every other household item that has a recycling symbol on it. So in partnership with the DEP, what we're trying to say is, bottles, cans, jugs, that kind of thing. We do have some information that I'm not sure if that made it to the website, but I know we've provided some to the town.
It is, it's on our website, and
That's what I was gonna
we also talked with Waste Management about stickers that can be placed on trash barrels or recycling bins, so that it's right there. When you go to put something in the barrel, you're constantly being reminded what can go in it and what shouldn't be in it.
All right, so with everything that we're kind of talking about here, some of the challenges that we're up against, it's adding a lot of cost to servicing, to offering service, and that's not just to us; it's across the whole industry. So Tony and I have been discussing some of the kind of what's kind of lies ahead as far as next June, when the current contract is up, and what's sort of the next step. So we have a few options that we've been entertaining, and I think just for reference sake, and just sort of get everybody, give everybody an idea as to what these costs are looking like. If we were to keep everything exactly the same as it is right now, we'd be looking at about a 22.5% increase. So, I mean, I certainly recognize that that's a big increase. So what Tony and I have been doing is trying to find ways that we can try to mitigate that as much as possible. And right off the top, we've identified a change to the way some of the dumpster services are offered in town, where we could knock things down to about 18% increase, which would represent about a $15,000 savings. So essentially in that scenario, we'd be looking at the residents would have the same service that they have right now. Everything would be exactly the same on their end, so there'd be there'd be zero impact to them. But just some of the town locations that have dumpsters would have front load style dumpsters instead of rear load style dumpsters, which would allow us to offer a much more efficient service. There's some benefits to having the front load dumpsters as well, so I think it's actually a good value add to the town. And that would be to keep things pretty much the same. There's further savings opportunities though, and that would involve a change to automated service. So you may have seen carts, the green waste management carts. I know the city of Lynn has those with an automated arm on the truck. So that's another option that we were able to kind of go over. That would represent a much smaller increase over what the current rates are. So you'd be talking about a $30,000 increase roughly, or about 8.5%. So that's some preliminary numbers that we've been discussing, but I think it's important to sort of get out in the public that there's some changes and there's some cost increases that we're looking at. So I can talk a little bit about what the automated service would be, because that's different than what you have right now. So I threw this graphic up here just to give everybody a visual. You have the truck with the arm over on the left there, grabbing the barrel. So there's some really nice aspects to the automated service. Namely, everybody gets bins. You get these nice carts. One of the things that's, I think, really nice about it is it kind of enhances the curb appeal on trash day. So instead of having loose bags and an assortment of different barrels, everybody sort of has a clean, uniform look. In addition to that, you end up having a lid. The material's covered, so you don't get wind-blown recycling all over the place. You don't get animals and birds tearing apart bags and things like that. So, I mean, there are some advantages to it. The change part, I guess, would be, and this is something that I don't know if the town would be interested in this, but the only way we would be able to offer the service would be if we had service provided on Fridays only. So it would be 1 day a week in town. There would be all the trash would get picked up on Friday, and the recycling would be offered every other week. So that'd be another change that would be in place. So again, it would all be on Friday, and the way the every other week recycling would work is that half the town would be collected 1 week, and the other half would be collected the other week. So I know I just said a lot, so I'm not sure if, I'm sure you guys have some questions.
Would it be a significant savings if we did it 1 day a week? Because we did have a problem with that, with the 1 day a week. That's why we had to go to two days. Is it much quicker with the automated barrels?
Yeah, so we're more efficient with the automated system. So we would have, I mean, yes, we would gain efficiencies through offering this type of service. So we'd anticipate having less time, wrapping everything up a little bit sooner.
How many trucks would you have in the hut? Because, I mean, you need more than one truck.
Correct. So the idea would be is that we would have 2 trucks on trash in Nahant on Friday every week, and then we'd have 1 truck every week to service recycling. But that recycling truck would only focus on half the town 1 week and then focus on the other half the next week. But every single week, you would have 3 trucks in town all day on Friday.
And your residents' carts, you have a 96-gallon, a larger cart for recycling because it's being collected every other week.
At Home Depot, and because the barrels tend to get heavy at the garage, and they do work out a lot better. They're easy to move, so anybody can move them, and they just hook onto it and boom, it's done. So they're not straining themselves either, So I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't think. So as long as you can guarantee that you're going to pick up everybody's trash on a Friday.
So yeah, the service would be, I mean, it should be pretty much the same as it is right now as far as service level of success, if you will. It just would be focused on Friday instead of 2 days.
These barrels are awful large, especially, we've got elderly over here, a good percentage of them. For those large green, even the rollaways, very difficult for some of them. Do you have a half one?
So, it's a common concern that comes up. And so, on one hand, we like to try to make everything as uniform as possible, but we recognize that, people are individuals and everybody has their individual needs and challenges. So we want to accommodate that. And so in certain cases, we would, allow somebody to have a smaller cart. It could be for trash or recycling. So there are...
No, you didn't answer my question.
I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
These green trash barrels,
Yeah.
very large.
Right.
And for the elderly to move them is very difficult. Do you have something that's smaller?
We have smaller carts.
Smaller carts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other,
Because we have a lot of people that, a lot of homes, they just put out one bag. You know what I mean? They don't, they don't have the room for these large barrels, especially in certain areas of the town where houses are very tight. Little Nahant, Bass Point, those are the areas, you know. And they have no storage area for storing these barrels. They use the plastic bags, you know, to put them out. So you're saying we can't, you don't want us to use plastic bags anymore
We don't want bags in the recycling, but in the,
in the recycling.
so the way it would work with the recycling cart is that we would ask everybody just to load the recycling in loose, you know, not to bag it.
So how are you gonna display the new barrels and the recyclable bins? Where are you gonna put those? Are you gonna set them up, each resident?
Oh, so the way it would work is we would, if we went with this option, about a week or so before the program would start, we would come and deliver it at we'd have a vendor, but the vendor would come and deliver it to each house.
Each house.
Yeah.
And so what about the blue one that we have now, the small one?
We can do a collection for those if people want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
We can do a collection for those and get rid of them for them.
You're gonna pick those up?
So here's what would happen with that. I mean, we would work with the town, and we could, we typically we haven't been going door to door doing that, but people could maybe bring it to a collection point, and then we could have a dumpster there or a packer truck, and we could load them away.
Again, the seniors, you know, I'm looking at the seniors, you know, they don't really drive, and they,
We could work something out, though.
so if they
we
leave them
went
out
down-
front, maybe we can pick them up.
Yeah, DPW maybe could pick them up and bring them to the dumpster down the Public Works. It's something that those are some details we could iron out. Again, this isn't something that we've committed to yet. It's just an option to try to, by going with these barrels, it allows them to go with an automated arm,
No,
which
I know.
allows them to cut down to one.
I know, I agree with you about the automated, but it's too much trash. Yeah, for a single home. They don't have that much trash to fill one of these green barrels. I mean, I know you wanted to pick it up with your arm, it's much labor, but a lot of people don't have that capacity for trash in the town. I go around and, you know, you see, they only have one bag out there, or maybe two, you know.
So on the trash side, the barrel that we would offer, the 64-gallon cart, it's not as big as the 96.
What is that green, the one on the picture here, what is that? What size is that, 96?
Hang on.
No. What are those on the side? The ones he's picking up right now.
That looks like it's hard to tell, maybe a 64. It's hard to tell with the perspective there. So what we could do is we could have some carts that we could bring by, and you could get a sense of the size.
You know, your presentation, you should have had these barrels here tonight, so you know what I'm saying, yeah?
Oh, well,
Great.
I can
you
come
know,
back.
Bring all the barrels up and show us exactly, you know, because that's where people actually see them.
Understood, yeah.
And so maybe you could bring in the next couple of weeks, bring barrels and we can leave them around the town hall so people see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're paying their bills or something, and then the other ones, take some pictures of it, you know? It would show everybody exactly what they're gonna receive. And, you know, because this is a major change.
Oh, again, we have not, this is step
No,
one.
I understand.
Haven't committed to anything yet.
Yeah, no, but he's making this proposal, and this is, you know, being an increase in the trash fee and everything, so it's quite the jump. You know, 22% is quite the jump.
So that's correct. So 22% is a big jump, and that's actually why we're talking about this, because if you went with this option, the automated, it would be about an 8.5% jump.
I understand, but
Yeah.
again,
It's less money with the automated.
Yes.
well, I mean, people just don't have that space to store one of these large green barrels. And I gotta look at the areas where they have no storage. They're lucky to park their cars, you know, there. You know what I'm saying?
My other concern would be, Richie, is some of the smaller streets, like Burpee, Seaview, and all those, are they gonna be able to fit a truck down there to pick up those barrels?
There's a few streets right now that we actually service with a small truck, and we would continue to service those streets with the small truck.
We should list those streets and advise them that, you know what I'm saying? These streets that you're having difficulty with a major truck going down there, so they know, you know, the smaller truck is coming to pick up their trash. Like Burpee and,
Seaview's a bunch of them.
there's a bunch of, yeah.
The trucks just can't get down.
Oh, yeah, they'll be taking down the telephone wires and posts and stuff.
Well, something to think about, anyway.
So I had a slide up here for questions, but I think we've been pretty open about questions already. One other thing that I just wanted to mention, though, since we're talking about pricing, is you know, we're talking about cost increases and how a lot of these factors have impacted our whole industry. But one thing I wanted to try to highlight and maybe make people feel good about is that I think we still represent very good value to the town. And the reason why I can kind of substantiate that is with the previous bid from 2015, you know, even with these increases here, our pricing is still less than where the bid was from 5 years ago. So I just think that it's sort of worth pointing out that we had a good competitive bid back then, and I think even with these proposed increases, we're still able to offer the best value to the town.
You know, you threw that one in, so we should really get a, you know, good price from you.
I'm sorry?
We should really get a good price from you.
I feel.
I know you, I mean, you're selling the price increase here with all these, you know, I understand what you're doing, and it's a smart thing to come over and make the presentation, but costs, you know, it's like, these trash fees, these are direct, you know, to the town, to each of the residents. And your performance, as I said earlier, is very good. I just, you know, with all these changes, especially recycling every other week, that's a major change. Again, would it take much for you to pick the recycle up every week so that we, people really don't have storage for that stuff? You know, it's very difficult. Okay, we'll review your proposal. You know, we've got other proposals coming, you know that. You know that.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, okay. I just want to let you know.
Well, I'm confident that we have a very good offer.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, you know, town manager's going to be tight on, you know, the budget this year, so we, you know.
Just to add on, Richie, Mr. Chairman, we're looking at the DEP dividends program as well. So there are certain things that the town can do that you score points on with DEP if you're in this program, and then they actually will provide you some money to pay towards this contract. So we're exploring that as well. I think the unfortunate message is cost is going up across the nation, and if we want to try and limit some of those cost increases, we got to think about doing things a different way.
I think recycling, I mean, they were essentially, what they're doing is they're telling us, recycle.
Actually,
And recycle the right way.
So we want everybody to recycle because I think that's the right thing to do. But everybody's sort of between a rock and a hard place right now because we know that recycling is a good thing, but unfortunately, the way the market is, it actually costs more to recycle than to throw things away. So that's a sort of an unfortunate situation. But we do hope that will reverse.
Right. It'll change. It always does.
okay, good with questions? Any other questions?
I have none, that's fine.
Thank you, Ed, for coming to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Census.
Census.
So Phil Dignati, I think I pronounced it close, is from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Oh, wow.
This year, there's a federal census, our local census, and of course, presidential election, so coming up. So there's a number of things that folks in town should be made aware of. We've asked Phil to come out and talk a little bit about the federal census to educate the public on what they can expect and hopefully educate them on how to identify fraud versus the real census that would be mailed out.
So, greetings from the U.S. Census Bureau. This is my 4th trip to Nahant. I've been doing a lot of work with local organizations trying to get the town ready for the 2020 census. The movement of the 2020 census is we're aiming to count everyone once, count them only once, and count them in the right place, which is a lot harder than it sounds. And it comes with a lot of serious challenges, and my role is to work with local governments all across Essex County to come up with intelligent solutions to the problems that are unique to each community. So to just give you a little bit of a sense of it, the Census Bureau's population for the town of Nahant is 3,471. That is a lower number than you'd probably expect because your numbers are based off the local census, which you have numbers as recent as 2018. Our numbers are as recent as 2010. But using statistics from that census and using statistics from other censuses that have taken place in Nahant for the past 8 years, we've identified a concern, which is that the likely low response rate in the town of Nahant is about 16%. What that means is somewhere between 550 and 600 residents in Nahant will choose not to be counted during the decennial census, and will have to be counted by some other means. Now, what that means for the town of Nahant is very simple. Nahant's slice of the pie, so to speak, in federal dollars, in grants at the state level and at the federal level is based off of your official count, not the count that we think is here. So for every person that we miss when we count the population here in the town, that's resources that are being taken away from your schools, taken away from your senior center, your public library, and the list just goes on and on. So what we're trying to do is identify solutions to that. Working with several of your staff, and I'd just like to put them into your record, I met with Linda Peterson, the Council on Aging, with Marguerite Barile, the town clerk, with Sharon Hawks over in the library, and Bobby Joe and Tony here in Town Hall. And we've been able to look at census data and look at the recent history of the town and identify that there's really 2 critical problems that we're facing in the town of Nahant. First is the over 65 population, which is where we believe the bulk of that 16% is going to come from. But then to focus that even more, it is the snowbird population within that percentage of the population. So Nahant's population, 22% of the population is over 65. So that's kind of where we're focusing our concern on. And then what we don't have is what percentage of that qualifies as a snowbird. Snowbird, for those of you who are not familiar, meaning an individual who winters someplace other than here. So that's kind of the frame of what we are dealing with. The reason why they're going to be non-responsive is impossible to fully answer, but we can identify certain realities. First off, the census is going to be available in mid-March online and by phone. So individuals who do not have internet access will have a challenge in being able to respond. Individuals who will not be home during the period of March through June will have a lower likelihood of responding, which of course covers your snowbird population. A second reality is that for the past 10 years, we've been telling senior populations all across the United States, if someone sends you something in the mail that asks for your personal information, that don't give it to them. And now we are about to send you something in the mail and ask for personal information, and we need you to give it to them, which becomes one of the other problems that we're facing. A third problem that we're facing is the standard every 10 years distrust in government. Government poses certain problems to certain individuals. Depending upon which party is in power, will either enfranchise or disenfranchise groups of people. So what it comes down to is my job is working with your town offices and other organizations in your community to dispel some of these concerns, to explain what the census is, what the timeline of the census is, to explain how it will work, why it's safe to cover the law if anybody wishes to do that. So those are kind of the challenges that we're facing. So what we're going to be doing here in Nahant is working with town offices as best we can to resolve these problems. So just to give you a couple really quick examples, the town library. So Sharon Hawks has agreed to set up the widget, the link for online response on the library computers, so that individuals who do not have a computer at home or do not have internet access at home can come to the public library and enumerate themselves. Library staff will be trained by me or by one of my colleagues so that they'll be able to answer basic questions on that link and basic questions on the census. To minimize concern and confusion, I've partnered with Linda in the Council on Aging, and the Council on Aging is going to host 2 events. We don't have dates for those events yet. One of them will be before Christmas, and one of them will be after Valentine's, so late February, early March. The earlier event is going to be an information session in which residents will be invited to come, probably hosted either right here in this space or in the public library, to hear a presentation on the 2020 census and have the opportunity to ask questions of a live representative of the census. And then the second event, which most likely will be in early to mid-March now that I think about it, will be held downstairs in the senior center. Will be an opportunity for individuals to come to the senior center and to respond to the census at that moment. And there'll be a representative of the census present, and there'll be a representative from the library who's also been trained to answer some basic questions to assist your residents. And then working with Tony in the town administrator's office, we're working on developing a plan to reach the snowbird population before they leave, and then more importantly to find a way to respond to that population mid-census, so somewhere in March, April, or May, to ensure that they respond to the census as a resident of Nahant, and they do so by the deadline so that we are guaranteed that they get counted. So that's basically the overview of what our issue is, what it's looking like here in Nahant, and what I've been doing and working with Tony and others to make a plan to resolve those concerns here. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to respond.
Just out of curiosity, Nahant's non-response rate is about 16%.
Yeah.
Is that typical of communities around here?
It's slightly higher than your average community of this size. And most likely from talking with others here, it seems that that's also because Nahant's senior population is slightly larger than communities of this size. So if you're comparing yourselves to like the towns of Topsfield, the towns of Boxford, Boxford's non-response rate somewhere around 9%, Topsfield's around 12%. I could get you exactly what they are. I'm pulling it from memory if you're curious. But then, but if we're going to do an apples and oranges comparison, Saugus is in the 20s. Lynn, which is just on the other side of the causeway, there are community sections of Lynn where the non-response rate is pushing 40%. So Nahant is not a serious problem by any stretch of the imagination, but in comparison to communities its size, it is slightly more concerning. Any other questions?
No, thank you for coming out. I think, again, I'll echo your point. It's important that folks know about the census and that they respond to it. It does help the town's funding at the federal level through grants and other financial aid. So it's important that it gets done. And I think we talked about potentially having some folks from town actually work on behalf of the Bureau, and maybe be here at town meeting, maybe have a table at town meeting in May actually now, or in April at the town elections to help get information out that way as well.
Yeah, both would be effective ways to reach populations. The May town meeting would actually probably capture a lot of the snowbird population once it's back, and there would still be the opportunity to enumerate at that time. So a lot of positive things are going on in Nahant. And, you know, just as like a sidebar, I've worked with a lot of towns and I've worked with a lot of cities on this. Nahant is doing a phenomenal job of working together. Not all towns have all of their offices and all of their organizations coming together. There's this thing called a complete count committee, where you take critical organizations and offices and respected leaders, you bring them together on a committee to do the work of the census and to promote it. Nahant doesn't have one, but it's working more effectively than some complete count committees. So I would commend your entire staff in all of these offices that I listed for the effort that they've put forward. And at some point I'm going to reach out to Tony and suggest that Nahant just put together the count committee anyways, because then you can add yourselves to the list of communities that have a complete count committee and use that as a way to promote the census. And to my knowledge, I think you'd be one of the smallest communities in the state that would have one, which would be kind of a cool thing to have on the census's website.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'll stick around to the end of y'all's meeting in case anybody wants to ask me anything or you have any questions.
Okay. We have with us tonight the Distinguished Veteran Officer, John Lazar.
That's me.
You're up, John.
Oh, well, shall I do my...
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Thank you for inviting us. As you know, we have, as the town's veterans agent, I took it upon myself to submit the town of Nahant as a national community partner to celebrate the men and women who served during the Vietnam War era, which is roughly 1955 to 1975. Under two presidential proclamations passing both the House and the Senate, President Obama, President Trump both passed the authority to host across America a ceremony for those veterans during that period. Primarily the thrust was that during that time period, it was a very unpopular conflict, war, whatever side you happen to be on. The veterans during that time were not treated very well because of the, political climate and the nature of people wanting to put an end to war, and those people who thought our occupancy over there was important. So to make a long story short, the country wants to go back a little bit and bring these veterans to one place in all the communities and towns and cities across America to say thank you and show respect. So in that, we are now a community partner with a nationwide effort to reach out and thank the Vietnam veteran era veterans. And we would like to host a ceremony here at Town Hall and invite all the Vietnam veteran era people. Just a coincidence with the census, we conducted some demographic research ourselves, and we found that over 50% of the veterans that have been identified in Nahant are Vietnam era veterans, which is a high proportion. Obviously, we have World War II, who are passing quickly, Korean passing quickly, and then we have the post 9/11 veterans from Desert Storm and Afghanistan. These demographics are important, and I'd like to throw a plug in for the census. When they conduct their census, they register the demographics of elderly people, socioeconomic conditions, and veterans. And when and if the town of Nahant wants to reach out and apply for additional funds to do things, they're going to look at those numbers. So it's important. So with the help of the town clerk, we identified over 50% of our town veterans are Vietnam era. So we would like to have the hall for about an hour. I think we submitted the invitation that we'll be sending out. You'll be seeing posted throughout the town. I thought they put it in there in your booklet. So that's Wednesday, November 6th, from 6 to 7 p.m. And then we're going to follow that up with a social down at the American Legion, who's a partner, obviously, in this important effort. We also have a number of, shall I say, corporate sponsors that are assisting and helping us defray the cost, of this event within town. Dunkin' Donuts, the Fish and Lobster Place, one or two generous donors who are contributing to cover the cost of mailings and stationery, things of that nature. So we respectfully request usage of the town hall for this very important event. The event will bestow upon each veteran of that era a Vietnam lapel pin. I guess I should have worn mine. And also a certificates, presidential proclamation. We also have a commitment from 3 regional veteran organizations, including the VA Bedford VA Hospital, VNOC out of Haverhill, and Veterans Crisis Center out of Lowell, and they'll be presenting at tables various pieces of information that will be beneficial to all the veterans who attend for services, benefits, etc. So basically that's what we need. We also have, we're very fortunate to have the Marine Junior ROTC out of Lynn English. As part of our ceremony, we're going to be hosting a POW MIA table, and we're going to be having a short ceremony, and they have volunteered to both present the colors as well as conduct a ceremony, which we will be setting up a table, and it's a little ceremony that describes everything that the POW MIA table represents. It's a very touching event. So we hope we have your permission to use the hall for that evening for this event. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hold on, Jenna. Are we all set for that, November 6th?
Yeah, well, I'll read the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
We took it out of order, so I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the event request for the Vietnam Veterans National Award ceremony at the Town Hall on November 6, 2019 at 6 p.m.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
A second discussion.
I think it's a great tribute, and we appreciate this very much.
We're looking forward to it. We have a lot of veterans in town during that era. I noticed Jerry was here, Mr. Butler. He was one of the era. One person sitting at that table was a very esteemed representative. And I might add, this is not just for Vietnam veterans who served in country in fighting. It's for all veterans that were in that period, because we didn't suffer the pains of fighting in the jungle, but I'll use myself as an example. I floated around in the Mediterranean for 9 months during this period, chasing the Russians. We were following them and they were following us, and we kept on going around the Med. But it didn't matter. When we came home, we got on the plane, to come back home from Boston. I was stationed out of Norfolk, Virginia, on the USS Seattle. And I was treated the same way anyone else was treated in Vietnam. And we have a lot of guys here that did fight, and I happen to know because as your veterans agent, one of my jobs is to help these folks get the proper benefits and healthcare services that they can because of their service to the country. And we have some serious veterans with serious illnesses and disabilities that they came back home with. But all of us, whether we're in the Med or in Vietnam, you know, we came back to humiliation and disgust, and people were angry at us, and all we were doing was doing our job, you know, for the country. And as you know, there was a time of constriction. No, is that what it's when they were drafting us? So a lot of people had no choice, and they got their butt, you know, into the service in Vietnam or wherever. So we appreciate your assistance for this important matter.
Hold on, John. The motion's been made. Any further discussion?
No, that's great. It's,
All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. John, I want to commend you as the veterans agent for the town. You're doing an excellent job. And I've heard from a lot of veterans, your performance is far beyond what we expect, and you've done a great job, and you continue to do a great job. And I think this is a great idea for the Vietnam veterans. I think it's going to be a great event, and hopefully we can decorate the hall.
Well, we have
Red,
some
white,
stuff.
and blue. Get some decorations. in.
Washington has already supplied us with a few things.
Good.
I've had a few discussions, and we're going to have, you'll all be invited as special dignitaries. I forgot to mention, we have a list of dignitaries, starting with Congressman Moulton, Charlie Baker, Secretary of Commissioner of Veteran Services, Francisco Urena, our state representatives, our state senator. We'll be sending out invitations to them. We had to hold off, unfortunately, because of, you know, we wanted to go through the proper channels and dot the i's, cross the t's. So hopefully a few of those guys will show up. I already told Moulton that if he doesn't come, Richie Lombard's going to run for Congress. So, that'll put the fear in him, a fellow Marine.
Thanks, John. Any other discussion? Thank you. Jerry, how can we help you?
I have something of a request, a statement.
Just get to the mic. Give your name, you should have people in the
yeah, I
audience.
remember. Good evening, Mr. Selectman and Administrator. My name is Jerry Butler. I live in Nahant. I've lived here since 1949. My request suggestion is the area that is on top of a gun battery in the area of Tri-Mountain Road. In fact, as most of you know, people growing up in Nahant, that's kind of a rite of passage of going through and playing. But the area on top is perfect for a park. The DPW presently cuts the grass, maintains the area, and it's very, very nice. My suggestion tonight, or request, is if this area, this park, could be named in honor of Augustus P. Gardner, or Gardner Park. As most of you know, the gun emplacement underneath is Augustus P. Gardner, and he is a Massachusetts man. He was the son-in-law of Senator Lodge. His family is quite well known. Gardner, Massachusetts, Gardner Auditorium, and so forth. I just thought it would be very befitting if we, at maybe the most, the cost of a wooden sign, would make this known as Gardner Park. And that is the end of mine. That's all I have.
it's, well, yeah. Chairman, do you want- No, I think it's a great idea, Jerry. You know, we've been talking about this for a while. It is a beautiful spot. From up on top, they've cleared that area, and there's a bench where you can look out across to the wharf, and it's just a beautiful spot. And I think, you know, formalizing it with the name would, you know, bring more attention to it, and maybe more people would take the time to appreciate what a beautiful spot it is. it was kind of an interesting coincidence. When Jerry had suggested this idea, I went up there to take a look at where the sign might go and what we might be able to do to maybe pretty up the entrance. And it just happened that when I stopped there, there was an older gentleman and his adult son, and they said, oh, we lived around the corner here in the 1990s, and you couldn't even get up without me saying why I was there. They said, what a beautiful place this is now that it's been cleared out. You couldn't even, hack your way through the underbrush, when we lived here. So it was kind of an interesting coincidence that they happened to be there appreciating it just at the same time I was checking it out for you. But I think it's a great idea and a fitting tribute. So.
And Joe, do you want to say?
Yeah, I also think it's a great idea. I agree with Josh and you, Jerry. Also, I think we should open up the tunnels for tours. I think you should be the
We
narrator.
can all find our names inside.
We don't need to open those up. It's a great idea, Jerry, and we'll follow up. And in order for that to be named, that first it has to be designated as a park area. We're going to have to put an article in the warrant for the upcoming town meeting, so it's voted at town meeting.
Okay,
Either a special town meeting whenever we have it, or the annual town meeting. Most likely it'll be the annual town meeting, because you're dedicating land, parkland, to an individual. And that has to be written up and voted on at a town meeting. But we'll follow up and get that all written up for you and make sure it's submitted for you in your behalf.
Well,
Oh, not your behalf, the citizens of the
I know what
town.
you mean, but it's just, it just seems so fitting, as far as I am concerned.
It's a great area, it's a great spot up there. I'd like to see a couple more benches, one on the left and the right. Okay, I see you, I'll call on you in a minute. All right, Jerry? Thank you all.
And by the way, people should look at his new book that he's got out. I just bought him.
Oh, really?
Jerry's new book.
Oh, wow. The other book was great.
Allowed to plug it here?
Brand new. I
Great
got
book.
the first copy.
Really? All right, we're gonna have to get one. Yes. Yes.
I had no idea that this was going to come up. It just happens that for my 50th wedding anniversary, 7 years ago, my husband and I had the town put a bench up there. We are the solitary bench, looking out. I hope you all sit on my bench. And I can't talk here. I am always surprised that of so many of my friends who live in Nahant, almost nobody knows about that park, I think it's called Fort Ruckman underneath. Is it not?
Bailey's, it's Bailey's Hill. They call it Bailey's Hill.
But it's the other, it's the ancillary Bailey's.
Yep,
Bailey's-
it's Fort Rockman is.
It is Fort Ruckman,
Yeah.
but
Very, very few people in this town know that that place exists. And it's a beautiful, peaceful place. And there's our bench all by itself, which is an anniversary celebration bench. And then on the other end, there are two benches, one to Debbie Cullinan, and the other person, I'm not sure who that is, that are memorial benches. And you can walk the path, you can come up the steps, which are very steep, or you can go down the incline on the grass on Tri-Mountain Road.
Right.
It should be a place that more people in this town know about. So I would just like to add anything that could celebrate that space.
well, he's got a good idea, so hopefully.
really be nice.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think the other bench is Brett Bennett's, by the way.
Who was it?
And Brett Bennett.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we all knew about it as kids.
Oh, yeah.
That area.
Yeah, we know it very well. And the tunnels, too.
Yeah, the tunnels. They've been open, I think we need to have tours up there, I think.
Well, I don't know, the insurance, I'm not sure what the insurance, because those things are inside, it's pitch black in there.
Yeah.
And there's holes.
No, there's lights up there now.
Oh, there's lights on the main thing, but not all the
Boats, all the town boats are
Town boats are stored, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but nothing, you start going down a few levels, it's pitch black, and you gotta know where the holes are. You walk in one of those holes, you go down 3 stories. Okay, Jerry, thank you. Okay, and we'll put that on the agenda and get it done. Okay,
Hope you all have a Halloween good.
good, thanks for coming up, Jerry. We got a planning board requesting a special town meeting. What is that, under, C? Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no supporting material there. It's
Oh, yeah.
just simply publicizing that the planning board has formally, voted unanimously to request that the Board of Selectmen schedule a special town meeting to hear a zoning petition that they've had a public hearing on.
Talked about this the last time.
I don't know if we did. I don't know if that had come in yet, that request.
Well, to have a special town meeting, I don't know, especially on this request, I'd like to see it in the annual town meeting, to be honest with you. This is where all the voters get a chance to vote on this. Special town meeting, you might not get, have to be on like a sad year. People, it's like busy time of the year that you're coming into Thanksgiving and Christmas. And this is what, the middle of October. So, if we wait and have it inside the annual town meeting, it would be better served, I think. That's my,
I think we have to have a special town meeting because it's a time-sensitive issue.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I said, I think we're gonna have to have a special town meeting because it's a time-sensitive issue.
Well, we have till December 25th?
So, right, so just to break it down a little bit more for the folks listening, and the petition that was put forward by the planning board had a public hearing, and it's active, that petition is active for 6 months.
Right.
And if you don't have a special town meeting or a town meeting within that 6-month time frame to vote yes or no on that zoning change, then I believe it becomes inactive, and then the planning board would be required to have another public hearing on it. So that 6-month time frame does bring you up to December 25th.
Right.
And the other thing to keep in mind is, I believe our bylaws require that for a special town meeting, you have to provide the warrant 14 days in advance. So, you have to kind of backdate. That does put us into the beginning of November.
It's right around the corner.
You don't have to make a decision tonight, by the way. You don't have to make a decision tonight, by the way. I
No,
just
but I
wanted to
mean,
make sure that,
We're even down to the neck of
yeah.
November, so
Yep.
I think that we need to probably make a decision. My only concern is, we had a special town meeting for the wetlands bylaw that cost us roughly I think it was like $15,000. We are spending money like crazy on legal fees, special town meetings. I just think that an annual town meeting is fine for this, which is not that far away, if you think about it. A zoning change for the annual town meeting. I don't think we should spend any more money on special town meetings, or, let's do a cost breakdown, police, fire, everything that we have to do for a special town meeting. Am I correct in saying so? Legal teams?
Yep, there's certainly costs associated with, I don't remember, I think it was more around like $8,000 to $10,000. And certainly this fiscal year is our election day and town meeting day are separated.
Right.
So that's added. That's a new thing this year coming up.
Plus our legal fees, I mean, we're at, what was the percentage of our legal fees that went up the past couple of years? It's ridiculous.
I don't know off the top of my head.
What? So, I mean, it's a tough one. I can understand why the planning board, why people want it, but I can also understand that we have to stop spending money on stuff like this, when we can actually put it off for a couple more months.
There is a tool as well. There's a tool for the citizens, if they so desire to push for a town meeting, they can do it by petition. That's what happened with the wetlands bylaw. It came in through petition. If we were to receive that, then we would have to have a town meeting within 45 days of receiving such petition.
Which should be around the same time, so, I mean, if we can try to tell people that, I think that spending money on something like this should wait.
I think we should think about what the options are, what the implications of deferring to the annual town meeting are, and weighing those against the financial costs, so that when we make our decision or recommendation, it's a fully informed one. But to your point, if we're going to have one, we have to decide at the next meeting, I would say. I think it would be wise to plan it sooner rather than later. I was thinking about November 22nd, but maybe we take the next couple weeks to make sure we're fully educated on whether we expose the proposed change by deferring to the annual town meeting. I think that's the risk.
If we can't remove, hold on, I'll get to you. You can put your hand down. Mike Manny's got a request in for a petition as well. He'd have to put, if we declare a special town meeting, his article has to go in too as well. I want to look at both, and the problem is, again, you're working in November, December.
Holiday time.
Yeah, it is the holiday time. We can look at it, just want you to get back there. Did you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Alice Court, 7 Valley Road. So I am concerned about you postponing this meeting. My understanding is that since there was a 6-month window for you, you were actually notified of this in June, and therefore are essentially postponing it for almost a full year. Clearly, the plan, is that correct? Because our annual town meeting date is now in May or June? May?
It's in May. We only recently got an email from the chairman of the planning board indicating that they voted to request that the board have a meeting. So I think that came in within the last month, maybe a couple weeks.
But the 6-month time frame, I mean, I haven't been to all of the meetings, but I was at some of the meetings at which this has been discussed previously. So in any event, we do understand that there's a problem with our bylaws that are somewhat inconsistent, that the planning board proposed a clarification change in the bylaw. I think that we all understand that there are issues that are progressing in our town that we are concerned about in the protection of open spaces and the like, and that many of us, I mean, obviously I'm only speaking for myself, but I believe that there are others who believe that the sooner that we can move forward on this, the better it will be for the town at large. So I would support that we try to get the special town meeting to take that vote on the bylaw within the 6-month time frame that people have been speaking about. And if it is not approved at the next meeting in 2 weeks, I would just like at this meeting to clarify what is the 45-day limit petition, what are the requirements of that petition that citizens would need to try to address to put that into place?
200
Thank
votes.
you.
200 signatures for a petition to have a town meeting.
To address this
It's
particular
not a bylaw
issue.
change. This is a bylaw clarification. It's not a change, it's a clarification. That's all it is.
Okay, I'm, with due respect, I'm not sure that that's more than a semantic, a clarification ultimately is a bylaw change, I believe.
It's clarification, I wouldn't think so. I think it's just a clarification. What does it mean?
Well, I'm not a bylaw expert, so.
Okay.
Well,
It's
I think
changing
that-
the text of the
So it's a
bylaw, but-
45, it's a 200 signature petition if you all do not vote to schedule a special town meeting to address the planning board's
There's,
proposal for the bylaw change or clarification within the 6-month time period where
it's,
they started this process.
so regardless, the answer is yes, however,
The answer to which question?
more vaguely, any resident can call for a special town meeting with a petition of 200 signatures for any, regardless of, it doesn't have to, it's not specific to a zoning change or anything like
Right,
that.
right, yes,
So-
that I
so, yeah, so,
understand,
and
okay.
And if that petition were to be received, the town would have to host that meeting within 45
Within
days
45
of receiving
days.
that petition.
Okay,
I
thank
would
you.
only ask that if they do that they would look at, I think Josh mentioned November 22nd.
Looking at the calendar, that was a date that makes sense to avoid Thanksgiving and Christmas.
The only problem with November 22nd is a lot of people might be gone for Thanksgiving. And I think it's just a bad time, and I would ask people to really think about this before we do something like this, to clarify a zoning bylaw that ultimately the court's gonna do. And what will end up happening is it's just gonna cost us money.
Well,
We
it's-
are going through money like crazy. We had an override specifically for stabilization, am I right, Tony? And just to put some money away, and we just can't keep going through it, so.
I guess I'll be frank about it. I think if that zoning bylaw change goes out of effect from the 6 months of the posting, and there isn't a way to continue that, whether we want it or not, there's gonna be a special town meeting. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Whether it's, if we don't vote for it, I'm sure the citizens will. So, we should think about it.
When would you like to vote on this, Mr. Chairman?
Well, why don't we wait and see, we get the numbers and the costs and everything, and Tony prepare it? We've got a meeting, next week anyways, right? Thursday night?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, the 17th, so we'll
That's
wait.
really
wait till
cutting it short, though, I think. I don't wanna, if we really vote to have it, I don't wanna, because then the FinCom's gonna meet, and they're gonna get the book, and by the way, we need to change that. A lot of cities and towns don't have that book that goes out. We need to probably change, a charter change where people can get that online, or they can come up here and get it. The fact that we have to mail it out costs the town a lot of money, and people are quite capable of coming up here and getting the book. So we need to make some changes there too. And it's just a cost saving, that's all it is. Well, let's think about that at some point.
People like that book, right?
Oh, I know, and they'll get it, but they, every other city in town,
Yeah.
you go to the town hall, they get the book. People are quite capable of coming up here. We don't need to mail them, because it costs a fortune to mail them.
Wait a minute, let's just get this finished. Did you want to speak on this subject? On this subject? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Oh, come up, go ahead.
Ann Bromer, 29 Willow Road. I just wanted to emphasize that it is easy to get the 200 signatures, and those of us will work hard to do that. And this is in your hands and your power now to make it any day you want. And I would ask you to please do this, since there is a time limit on it of this 6 months, instead of having us go out and get the signatures.
See, this, have a special town meeting on a zoning change, you get limited people at a special town meeting. I'd rather have, especially in a zoning change, it should be at the annual town meeting, so all people in the town are gonna get notified, pro and con, and then come to the meeting. The special town meeting, they're gonna get notified, but, it might not, especially now between Christmas and New Year's, Thanksgiving, it's like, I don't know. I just think it's, and then the cost effective.
Can we wait till,
2 weeks?
would they be happy with waiting till after,
The first?
after January?
I think, yeah, I would, if.
I just think it's a bad time, honestly, I do think it's a bad time. And my concern is the cost, it really is.
Why don't I talk to the planning board and
Yeah.
see what their options are for potentially extending that time frame?
Right.
And secondly, take a look at the costs like you asked, and I'll also look at the calendar a little bit closer about potential options to consider for the next Board of Selectmen meeting. Of course, if we receive a petition before then, we'll abide by it.
So, are we in agreement that you'll collect that information, the legal implication, the financial, and we'll have it on the agenda at our next meeting? We could either vote it up or down, and...
That's fine. I just, honestly, I think that if we can wait till after January, and I don't think I'm asking for much, because December 25th is not that far away from January 1st. I just think it's better in that month, to have the meeting, if we're gonna have...
Cost the same in January as December.
that?
The cost is the same in January as December.
No, I know that, but it's, some people aren't gonna be able to go. They won't go because it's too close to Thanksgiving, they're busy, and...
Yeah, well, maybe it's our job to pick the best
So
date, because,
that's if we have good weather too.
as Mrs. Brownman just pointed out, at least if we do it, we can decide what the best date is, whereas if a petition comes in, our hand is forced.
Well, no, I
Not our
have,
hand is
I have no
forced,
problem
but
setting
the
this at the
town's
time,
hand.
it's just, you've got weather to continue, that's, I don't know, and especially on the zoning change, it should be all the people voting on it.
Right.
I think all the people that care will come and vote.
I hope you're right. Okay, he's gonna put it off to 2 weeks? Well, next meeting, Tony?
I will collect that information and I'll have it prepared for you guys to take a look at.
Yeah.
And,
Is that fine with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the cemetery committee appointment of Mary Lowe.
Yes. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Mary Lowe as Nahant Cemetery Committee member.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion.
Second for discussion.
I think it's perfect. Mary, brings a lot to the table. She already has. She's been going to a couple of meetings. And she works directly with the town clerk, with the cemetery, deeds and burial spots. And she has some good ideas, and I think she'll be a tremendous asset to the cemetery committee, honestly.
I agree. Any other further discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve the Cultural Council Committee appointment of Regina Chang.
Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Regina Chang as a Nahant Cultural Council Committee member.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Seconded?
Second, discussion. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion. Approve the event request of a wedding ceremony at Ellenwood Chapel, October 12th, what's today, October, next week? 2019 at 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Motion?
Seconded.
Motion second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Approve the event request for the memorial concert hosted by the Nahant Cultural Council at the Allenwood Chapel on October 12th, 2019, at 1 p.m.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the same day, like half an hour later?
Yep.
All right. Was that a motion?
Yes.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the event request for a memorial concert at Ellenwood Chapel on October 12th, 2019 at 1 p.m.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Just, actually, there is one thing I wanted to ask.
Yep.
I assume the concert people know that, or the wedding people know they need to leave in time?
Yeah,
Concert
they-
people know they
they
can't
don't-
show up early?
Yes.
Okay.
The two have coordinated with each
All
other.
right, all right.
All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion. Okay. Approve the event request for Emerson College shot filming at 40 Steps Beach on October 5th and 6th.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the event request for an Emerson College short filming at 40 Steps Beach on October 5th and 6th.
Motion's been made. Second.
Seconded.
Discussion.
So what is this? They're gonna be filming up there? Is that the
It's
plan?
a senior thesis project, and they're just doing some short filming.
Nice.
And I'm supposed to select one of the selectmen to be in it. Which one do you want to go?
Enzo?
Enzo, you want to be in it? Sorry? I'm supposed to select someone to go be in it. Oh, okay. No, do you want to go? No?
He's always wanted to be a movie star.
All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so
Approve the event request for the Vietnam Veterans National Award Ceremony.
You actually already did that.
We already, okay, yeah. Okay. I move that a surplus Ford Crown Vic, VIN number, okay? Motion,
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to declare the following vehicle as surplus 2011 Ford Crown Victoria. VIN number is 2FABP 7BV 2BX172238.
motion's been made, is there a second?
Seconded.
The second, discussion?
This is a
Hearing,
old police car?
yeah.
Yes, so following the capital plan, town appropriated funds to purchase new vehicle for the police. So we're taking an old police cruiser, moving it down to emergency management, and taking the old emergency management Crown Victoria that was formerly police cruiser and surplusing it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous. Ongoing business, is there any other ongoing business with the board?
Just
Town administrator's report.
Actually, a lot of it has already been
Or we have to-
discussed.
Okay,
I
then-
wanted to talk about,
just one thing that I just wanted to mention. Sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, anyone interested in working with me on a PDM grants, that's pre-disaster mitigation, or FMA grants, flood mitigation assistance grants, they're grants designed to help towns and residents. The town has to actually sponsor it. Grants are available for structure elevation, which is important because instead of having your house get inundated with water, especially in the lower Fox Hill, Castle Road area, in places that are below sea level, if we can get grants to elevate those homes and have them A-zone compliant, because they are in an A-zone, most of them, instead of them swimming during a storm, they can actually watch the water go into their house and they can be comfortable in that. They're available for structural elevation to eliminate home flooding, flood risk reduction projects like such as drainage, which would come in handy down there, and much more. This will most definitely benefit residents in town structures and repetitive flood areas. Let me know, as soon as you can, because the clock is ticking on this. And I want to get the town involved in it so that we can, if we can do a big project down there, especially down there. Because I know some people are talking about actually elevating their homes. Not only will that help the town and them from getting flooded, it also helps them with their flood insurance. It dramatically goes down once they become compliant.
Now, is it just, it's for the town of Nahant, like Willow Road is?
Even like Kelly Greens.
Yeah.
Anywhere in drainage projects.
Yeah.
There are grants available, but the clock is ticking. I gotta
Okay.
get rolling on that, so.
All right, good, yeah.
What's the deadline?
It's in October.
Yeah, oh, it is.
It's a letter of intent, so we can get the letter of intent in there, and then we can put together, some stuff that,
And some of the opportunities are private homeowners, so a homeowner can
it's the
say,
town, it's actually the town, but I'll give you the website, I don't have it with me. If you go on there, you'll see that it's for the town has to sponsor it, and there's grant money available for, to make them compliant, and then you'll watch your insurance rates go down too, so.
That's
Sounds
good.
great.
That's good, yep.
Right before this, I was with the MVP committee. Another round of action grants just came available, due November 14th. And, it's a committee of 7 or so, but we're really short on people, showing up and putting the time in. It's not an easy thing to put together these grant applications. But what we're looking to apply for is increasing resiliency of the Short Beach Dune.
Yeah.
So, design, permitting, probably not gonna be able to get into construction yet, but at least feasibility and design and studying of increasing the resiliency of that dune, such as the access ways, ADA compliance, things like that. So we're working hard on that. I don't want to pull from the efforts that you're making, but maybe there's a way to, whoever's interested in that, to maybe we work together.
This is FEMA and MEMA, so, it's just me.
It's all-
That was one of the styles of the
Yeah,
MVP, so
yeah.
I'll go back on, I'll be more than happy to work. We'll do it all. Let's go after everything we can,
Sure.
and just see what we can do. Maybe we get we could also think about, I know that we have a great grant writer in Nahant. Maybe we can see if we can get her to do some grants for us, pay her to do it, there's ways to write those grants.
Yeah.
So you're saying like Kelly Greens, they raise it up?
Yeah, there's
that'd be
all
huge.
kinds, in drainage,
Yeah.
the drainage systems in town, there's all kinds of stuff that we should be doing. It's difficult. You have to read the stuff, you have to look at it, you really have to go after it, and we really should have somebody that can write a grant the right way, And I know the MVP committee, we got some great people on there, Katie, Masha, and all them, they're really, really good. So,
Abby, Christine.
yeah. I'm gonna go to the next meeting.
Good. Okay, anything else?
No, everything else has already been discussed.
I'll move for adjournment.
seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night, thank you very much.